What is up, guys? Archon time, we're bringing you guys another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Chaos Theory patch notes. This will kick off March 9th, so 4 days from now. The launch of Apex Legends on Nintendo Switch is one of the big things, as well as the no-fill matchmaking, as well as the Caustic takeover. And you could argue that the survival slot that they're adding is also big. As you can see, this is the water treatment once Caustic takes it over. Mirage Voyage is also moving due to the takeover, so you're gonna have to find out and figure out where that goes. They're also redistributing loot in some ways as well, help spread the loot out a bit more. Let's go down here. So the other important thing is this slot right here. This is the survival slot, as they're calling it. So in the event, heat shields will go in there for the limited time mode, and then outside of the limited time mode, like in ranked and normal games, the mobile beacon will go in there. The respawn beacon will go in there. So you no longer have to worry about clogging up your space with the mobile respawn beacon. If you want to have one, you can have one, and it won't cost you anything to have. So I'm sure everybody's going to be running mobile respawn beacons now in order to get their teammates up if need be, because it won't cost them anything to do so. No-fill matchmaking is pretty much what it implies. Basically, if you sign up for trios or duos, you have the option now to turn off fill matchmaking so you won't get randoms in your team. And this is good if you want to play by yourself. If you want to try to explore new legends, or you want to play with, like, let's say a new gun comes out or something, and you're worried your teammates are going to take it if you do find one, you can do this to, get the gun, or at least guarantee you a shot at getting the gun, perhaps, in your squad. Or if you want to, like I said, play a new legend that comes out and you can't get the new legend because everybody keeps picking it because they're a first or second pick, this guarantees you a chance to test out the new legend in an actual game environment outside of the firing range. If you want a challenge, you can drop in, see if you can beat a bunch of trios, a bunch of duos by yourself. Just warm up, do challenges. It's a good change, I think. It's going to allow people to, get a little bit more done, allow them to play the game their way, which I always think is important, because typically what happens is people get so worried about where to drop because they're playing with two randoms that they drop in a place that just doesn't see action for like 60 minutes essentially until like your last 3 or 4 squads, and by that point it's like, wow, I just spent like 40 minutes running around just collecting loot, not actually fighting anything. Well, gives you a chance to warm up and test out new things. As you can see, costumes, they're doing those. Bangalore is getting her heirloom. If you don't get it during the event, you'll be able to get it after the event ends. As for the Legends updates, these are the big ones. Caustic, Nox Gas Grenade. Cooldown increased from 2.5 minutes to 3.5 minutes. So his ult is going on a 1 minute cooldown, or 1 minute extra cooldown, or recharge. Nox Gas damages at a flat rate of 5 HP per second, or instead of ramping up from 6 to 12. So both the gas and his ultimate are being nerfed. So I don't know where this puts Caustic in the meta. I think he's still good for locking down areas of the map. I don't think that's going to change. That's still going to be how you want to play him. But he won't be as effective at wiping teams out that are stuck in a building or, in that final ring. He just won't be as effective. Dev note, Caustic is brutally effective at slowing down engagements. The entirety of his kit revolves around gas with a large area of effect. Slow vision, obstruction, and direct health damage. It's proven to be too oppressive in too many scenarios, especially considering teammates can play in gas relatively unpaired. As you guys recall, they did remove the whole blurred vision thing from the gas a little while back. Significantly reducing gas damage without taking it away completely or having its affect armor instead seems like a fair compromise that stays true to the character while making him less oppressive on the receiving end. We will be monitoring the data and gameplay closely. If these changes hit Caustic's appeal or effectiveness too hard, we will revisit accordingly. I think 5 is a little too low personally. I think 7 would probably be a good middle ground for this. If you're nerfing the ultimate, you don't need to nerf the gas damage as well. I think that's a little too much. And it is his event, which is shocking that he's eating these big nerfs the way he is. Pathfinder is getting a buff. Low profile is being removed, so that means he will take normal damage from guns instead of increased damage. So all you Pathfinder mains out there, rejoice. You're going to be a normal character now. Gibraltar removed 15% faster healing item while in his Dome of Protection. So this was a part of the time when Gibraltar was way bad and nobody wanted to play him, and they changed his ult and it wasn't good. And they just started throwing darts at the wall in order to make Gibraltar viable again. This is one of the things that they gave him. So I did hear that they were going to nerf his dome shield, or not his dome shield, but his personal shield, to where if like a round penetrated the shield, any of the excess overflow would go into Gibraltar himself. But it looks like they're not doing that, and instead what's going to happen is they're just going to remove the 15% faster heal items, or 15% faster heal while inside Dome of Protection. And I mean, I'm fine with that. I think he still has his quicker revive inside the Dome Shield, don't quote me on that. I do know the animation changes, I think it's a little faster, I'm not sure how much faster. But don't quote me on that, I think he still has it. Horizon increased Black Hole's cooldown from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So another ultimate nerf where the charge time is going to be a little faster, or sorry, a little slower. Just like our boy Caustic up there. So Revenant's getting a buff. Revenant Silence now disables Mirage's Cloak, Revive, and Respawn, as well as Octane Swiftmend. Okay. In Mirage's case, the only thing this is really going to affect is the respawn. He's not going to be able to get away from an engagement, maybe lure you to a building if you're hit by it, and then sneak out and then try to revive so you can't see him. Outside of being downed, you're basically going to know where he's at anyway. It's very rare that a Mirage actually gets away even when he's cloaked. And as for Octane Swiftmend, that's a big nerf because that's like 8 to 9 seconds where even out of combat he can't regen HP. So that's actually a big hit to Octane. I think that's a pretty big buff for Revenant. Revenant versus Octane. Watson now has passive shield regen at 0.5 HP per second, half of Octane's current health regen. So if I recall correctly, Octane's original was 0.5, and he regened health pretty quickly. So I think what this means for Watson is that she's going to be able to poke, hide, and she's going to be a lot more effective in the poke-hide game. She can wait for her shields to come back passively. She doesn't need to carry as many shield batteries or shield cells. She can carry, more healing items if need be. Because while she's healing, her shields will just regen, just like Octane is the reverse of that, where you want to carry more shield healing, I would say, than you do HP healing. Because Octane's just going to heal back all that damage while you're shield healing anyway. I'm curious about Revenant, if he actually interacts the same way with Watson as he does Octane Swiftmend. That'd be a little weird if it didn't work on Watson's passive shield regen. Maybe since they're just adding it this patch, they didn't want to add that to Revenant's buff list, and it's just assumed it will work. Be on the lookout for a hotfix, I'm sure, if it doesn't work with that in that interaction. I'll have to test that and see how that pans out. Rampart. Explosive damage amped cover normally. Instead of inflicting 200 damage, explosive damage Sheila normally. Instead of inflicting 175 damage. Explosives. Walls should be beefy and powerful once built. Before Rampart ship, we were worried that her nests would be too oppressive, and we gave enemy players the opportunity to quickly clear them with grenades. This wasn't necessary as it turns out, so we're removing increased damage from grenades against amp cover and Sheila. This is definitely a buff Rampart needed. Not sure how I feel about it though, because Rampart can be very oppressive if she gets the high ground at all on you. There have been games where, you can still interact with the normal amp cover itself, not the base wall below it that does nothing but block bullets. But at the same time, this is going to be kind of awkward. She's just like, she gets the high ground on you on a ring, it's just game over at that point. Like, even if you get up there with her, there's no guarantee you kill her. The best thing you could probably do would be to just shoot out the amped portion of the barricade so she doesn't get bonus damage on you. And just try to hit her when she pokes the wall. I think Rampart may actually be decent now. We'll have to see. Could be wrong, but I think we'll see. Weapon optics. All gold AR and LMG default optics are to the 2x bruiser. I think that's a fine default sight instead of having like a million different sights for each of the different gold guns. Mastiff. Pellet damage decreased from 13 to 11. Fire rate increased from 1.0 to 1.1. So this is kind of interesting. I wonder how much exactly this is going to affect the Mastiff, if it can still do 100 damage or not. I think the max I've seen it do is like 118, 106, somewhere in there. So if you knock 2 off of each pellet, so instead of, what is it now? Like, how many pellets? Actually, I don't know how many pellets it is baseline. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see just how much of a nerf this is. May even actually turn out to be a buff in terms of fire rate, especially with a shotgun bolt. If you get a purple shotgun bolt, it already fired fast. Now it's going to fire a little bit faster. This may end up being net neutral by the end of it. We'll see. The goal of these changes are to place this weapon's identity between the Fastfire Ava 8 and the heavy-hitting Peacekeeper. The Mastiff has consistently been dominant in close quarters combat, given its forgiving spread pattern and high damage spikes with each shot. See, that spread pattern is very iffy on characters like a Wraith that have small hitboxes, so I disagree with that statement entirely. I don't know if it's server issues that will sometimes register an 18 to the head when you're literally on them with it. But anyway, and high damage spikes with each shot. This change reduces the high damage potential in order to limit the amount of 2 pumps players experience on the receiving end. In order to limit the amount of 2 pumps. So I'm guessing you have to shoot people 3 times with it now, which is fine, because that's about what you're looking at anyway. 3 to 4 typically, depending on what you're fighting. If you're fighting a Gibraltar, you're just going to mow him down, but if, like I said, you're fighting Wraith, there's a high chance that the pellet spread just whiffs and hits 1 pellet on her. Wingman, +1 bullet to every magazine size, including base. Doesn't fix the issue on console that the Wingman has. It doesn't even come close to fixing the problem the Wingman has. On PC, it's a little easier to aim with mouse and keyboard, so you're a bit more steady with the Wingman. Whereas on console, ever since they nerfed it when it first came out, they hit the aim steadiness on it. Or I'm trying to think, it's not the steadiness, what is it? The idle sway. They hit the idle sway when you're aiming with it, so it moves in. It's like if you ever get a Wingman, actually test it. Like hold down the right trigger or whatever platform you're playing on, and don't move your analog stick. Watch how it just shoots around. Just idly shoots around. That's why the Wingman is so bad on console. Is because that idle sway is so hard to compensate for. Hemlock, increased hipfire spread. The burst damage from the Hemlock's hipfire was feeling a little too consistent for an AR that should excel at medium range. This change mitigates the Hemlock's close quarters damage spikes that felt bad on the receiving end. I mean, why not just let the ARs accelerate at close quarters? I mean, the R99 accelerates at every range just about. The R99 literally is close to medium range for engagements. Like, it's stupid. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with it. The Hemlock is very strong if used correctly. You can literally one-tap people early on if they don't have blue armor. So, I guess it's fine. I just don't like how, like I said, the R99 and the Volt are decent at, you know, mid-range to close range, or at least what I would consider mid to close. Anyway, quality of life changes. Kings Canyon loot. We've done a pass on the loot to bring up the quality across the map, but also maintaining a certain amount of loot after Mirage Voyage has flown away. The wooden shacks across the map should have a few more pieces each and generally be of a higher value. Spotted Lake has been reduced to medium quality from high. Crash Site has redistributed the loot in the area slightly. It stays the same, but the higher quality stuff is in the ship, which is kind of what it should be. It should definitely be up in the ship. I think it should be considered like a treasure trove, you know? If you land up there with everybody else, you should be rewarded for getting loot if you're able to get the loot. That's my phone, by the way. Caustic treatment has more loot than water treatment, and it remains high quality. So for those of you who want to check out the new area, you will be getting high quality loot, and there'll be a bit more of it to spread around to your teammates, so it won't feel as bad. Locked weapon optic swapping. For guns with fully locked attachment slots like gold guns and most crate weapons, you can now remove the optic and replace it with a different sight. This is huge. So they already said they're defaulting all the gold guns to the 2x bruiser. And now they're letting you swap out that 2x bruiser if you don't want that bruiser. Let's say you prefer like the 1 HCOG on the Prowler. You can now swap to the 1 HCOG on the Prowler. Let's say you like, what for example, trying to think of what the gold guns even are right now. You like the 1-2 sight on an SMG. You can now swap that with one of the gold kitted SMGs or even the Prowler. This does not apply to the Kraber rifle. This is the only gun that isn't affected. The Kraber, you cannot put an HCOG 1 on and run around and just headshot people with it. I was excited when I read that the first time. I was like, man, I'm going to slap on a close range sight on the Kraber and just walk up and insta-give people with it. No, I will not. I am not allowed to do that, sadly. Assists have been added to the in-game HUD next to kills. This was already present in ranked and now has been added to unranked. Assists still don't contribute to XP. This has replaced the spectator eye icon. Assists and knocks have been added to your squad's banners and will show at the end of the match. Club names now appear on match summary and champion screen if all players are part of the same club. Items will no longer stick to crafting replicators when dropped on the replicator. This is huge. I don't know how many times I've tried to replicate something and it just keeps telling me to try to pick up a light mag, let's say, for example. It's like, I don't want the light mag. I can't take the light mag. Please let me replicate. I would like to use the replicator. I am so glad that this change is coming. So I'm guessing what they'll do is it'll just slide off. It won't be registered as a surface to stick on. Plop right on the ground. Badge progress. For badges that have larger or longer amounts of progress, hovering over the badge will show you more information. For example, if you're trying to get 50 wins as lifeline, you'll now see that you have 45 instead of somewhere between 15 and 50. What a precise number. Yo, how many wins do you have on lifeline? Well, let me look. Well, I guess I just have somewhere between 50 and 50, or 15 and 50. This is what it's talking about. So now it'll actually show the tier progress. Ping my death box. While respawning on a dropship, you can now ping your own death box to help locate it easier. That's pretty cool. So in case you're confused about where your death box is. Ooh, gold backpack. Players being revived by a gold backpack will have a crackle of energy based on the tier of their armor they wear while the revive is taking place. They will also display the armor heal effect when the revive is finished. This change should help players prioritize pushing a revive in progress. I like this. I think this is huge because before you couldn't tell if they had the backpack or not until you walked up and shot him if they were revived, and it's like, oh god, he has 50% shields, 50 HP. Well, this isn't going to be an easy knock, that's for sure. So, good change. I like it. Players on PC can now go back to the title screen from the lobby to allow switching of data centers without restarting the game. To all you console players, get good. Added numbers to the advanced look controls. This should help people experiment and easily revert back to their favorite settings. Added number. Okay. Oh, okay. I get what they're saying. It makes it like a scale now to where you can, like, remember, like, let's say you're on 7, you can go back to 7 if you play around with it. Go to 5 or 6 or 8 or 9. When scanning a beacon for Ring 6, you should now be able to see the location where Ring 6 finishes. That's nice. You'll know where to be, where the center of the final ring will be. Inspect weapon. Since the survival slot took its button on the controller, we only have so many buttons. Inspect weapon has been moved to the emote wheel by default. It can be bound to any key on the PC. I'm fine with this. Inspect weapon really didn't have use in the game. I'd rather it go to the survival slot than to have this feature in the game. Personally, it just is there for show more than it is to do anything. So, good to see. Bug fixes. Gibraltar corrected an issue with Gibraltar not getting any hit registration when simultaneously releasing ADS and shooting while his gun shield was up. Yeah, that's a pretty big bug. Good to see it fixed. That would explain why some Gibraltars probably felt like they weren't killing people. Wraith. Players can no longer cancel into the void by jumping at a wall. Oh, I'm guessing that's for L1, so once it's active, it's active. You can't cancel it. That also happens with Bloodhound too in his ult. If you climb a wall while doing Bloodhound's ult, it'll cancel the ult. Unless they've hotfixed that. I don't think they have. It's gotten me killed a couple times where I tried to activate it, go over a wall, and it did not work too well for me. The new Skydive emote will now work with legendary skins. Caustic fixed a bug that was causing Nox gas to flicker for some players affected by it. That's good for anybody who probably suffers from epilepsy, I would imagine. You know, don't wanna cause them any problems for sure. It depends on how bad the flicker was. Usually when somebody says flicker, I think of rapidly flashing gas more so than anything else. Octane. Repeatedly use the same jump pad no longer disables double jumps. I didn't even notice that was happening. Players are no longer allowed to glide along a wall after using the jump pad. I'm guessing you're just not allowed to float. Like I'm trying to think like how to put it. So there are some walls you can't climb up, but you can still slide across to get a little extra momentum. Not actually like slide, but if you hug it, you'll go a little further because the game's trying to position you, like slide you off of it. Crypto's animation to bring out his drone is no longer skippable by throwing hollow spray. Crypto can no longer teleport to a replicator. I would love to have seen that in action, actually. Reloading the Massive in 3030 will no longer be faster while in Crypto's drone. Not really that big changes. Typically, if you're in the drone, odds are your guns are already reloaded anyway. Loba fixed a few new areas Loba could teleport into that would get her stuck. Rampart players can no longer use Sheila to get onto the world when placed too close to the phase runner in Olympus. Yeah, seems important to fix, you know. Be in the final circle, can't find the enemy Rampart. You down 2 of her allies. Next thing you know, you're just getting lit up through the floor. Horizon, fix the gravity lift falling through the floor when used on train tracks in World's Edge Sorting Factory. Using a zipline after gravity lift will no longer increase accuracy? That seems really odd. That interaction would cause guns to not spread as bad. But, whatever. Use Mother Load will now damage and destroy jump pads. When under a small enclosure, players will no longer be pushed out after using Mother Load. Players can no longer double their grenades after looting a dead fuse's death box. Wow. So there was actually a way for other players to get access to the double grenades. Good to know. But it's been fixed. Dropping and picking up the Mastiff will no longer cause it to be reloaded. A very interesting bug. Dropping and picking up the 3030 repeater will no longer cause it to be reloaded. 3030 will now have spread deviation when ADS firing and jumping. I don't know how I feel about that. The 3030 repeater is, I guess, supposed to be mid-range, but at the same time, it kind of can go up against sniper rifles, and being able to jump fire with it was probably a good way to go against a sniper rifle for sure, if you could do it. Miscellaneous fixed a bug preventing Steam users from spreading friend requests to each other. Usernames now update when a user swaps between the Origin client to the Steam client. Fixed a bug preventing players from creating or joining clubs due to their EA account already being associated with another platform. And that's it. So, big changes to the backpack. Big changes to the gold weapons and the red or the higher tier weapons or red weapons. Really big change to the Mastiff. We'll see how that plays out. Watson probably gets the buff of the patch, honestly. It's a toss between her and Rampart. Watson is going to see more value out of her change than what Rampart is, I think. Just because I don't know of how many people were actually throwing grenades at Rampart's explosive cover, or amped cover, rather than just shooting it out anyway. Revenant is getting a bit of a buff in the 1v1 game against Octane. The one against Mirage doesn't really matter. Horizon getting nerfed. Gibraltar getting nerfed. Looks like we're done throwing darts at Gibraltar's board until things stick, which I'm fine with. Low profile for Pathfinder has been removed, so again, that's a huge buff for Pathfinder. That's a lot less damage he'll be taking in an encounter, and Caustic just gets gutted at the Chaos Theory event that belongs to him. Poor Caustic. Usually you see buffs come out. Not for this man. This man gonna eat a hard nerf of 5 damage per Nox gas, and his ultimate on a 1 extra minute cooldown recharge rate. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. No fill matchmaking, new survival slot, so people stock up on those respawn beacons. There's no longer a punishment for it. And yeah, Nintendo Switch players, get ready to join the Apex Legends crew. Hopefully crossplay works well for you and doesn't completely brick, which I have a sneaking suspicion that March 9th will not be the day to play Apex Legends. They just have struggled with crossplay, and I don't think Nintendo's infrastructure is going to be great for it. I could be wrong. Maybe it'll come out swimmingly. But that's just my thoughts on the crossplay for the Switch. Hopefully you guys have fun collecting those heirlooms, costumes, and best of luck in those boxes. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Catch you later. Peace.